Hi. Our guest today is Mr. Ron Pedersen, formerly, I guess I can say formally, the voice of the riders. And he's here with us tonight to kind of share his story about entrepreneurship and, I guess, the profession of broadcasting. Hello, Ron.
Hi. How you doing, man? Good to be with you tonight.
I appreciate that. As you probably mentioned, saw from my first initial email to you, our Chamber of Commerce is working with our 7 local area high schools on entrepreneurship. And we're trying to, interview as many people as possible. By that, I mean celebrities as well as local business people about entrepreneurship and the pitfalls and the successes and the things that can happen. So I just thought a career in communications might be something that somebody might be interested in and to hear about. So that's why I contacted you.
Well, I'm more than willing to offer what I can. I've seen it from all different sides. Trust me, in my career. So I'm happy to share whatever questions you have.
You started at a young age. I'm sorry, I don't know your full story about when you started. I apologize for that.
It's funny you say that because I was just on an interview today with The Athletic, if you're familiar with that website, and they were asking about my show.
Okay.
And they said, "How old are you?" I said, 48. They said, "How long have you been in this broadcasting business?" I said, 32 years. And I could hear the guy doing the math. He's like, "You started when you were 16?" I said, "I started in high school, actually. And just for your students, I went and beat on this door. I'm a farm kid. Okay, youngest of 3, cattle grain outfit."
Yep.
And that didn't interest me. So I went to Weyburn and beat on the door of the radio station and the newspaper and said, "Give me a job." And they said, what can you do? I said, "I don't know. Give me something." And I started.
Yeah.
Honestly, I did. And that's part of what my message will be to your students. And I started working as a DJ, calling senior hockey games on the radio, writing commercials, sweeping the floors, reading the news. I don't know if they air religious programming on the radio station in Rosetown, but my job was the religious programming coordinator. So I took care of those shows that aired at night, and I wrote a column for the Weyburn newspaper. So I was, and that was in grade 11. So I'm proud to say that I've been earning a paycheck in 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, 2020, 5 decades.
Wow.
That I've been earning a paycheck in this business. Yeah, and that's all from beating on the door, not taking no for an answer.
And what was the pull towards radio or TV?
Everybody asks that, and I have absolutely no idea, other than going round and around and around and around on the tractor, and I'm just going, "What are we doing here?" And it was a John Deere 4230 that had an unbelievable radio.
Okay.
So I could listen to radio stations from all over the prairies, all over the northern United States. And I'm like, this is pretty cool. I like listening to these Blue Jays games and these Wheat Kings games. And but I have no idea. My dad was a farmer and he did work in hockey, but there was no media pull whatsoever. So I don't know. My favorite subject was English. I was terrible at math. I walked out of math, was forced to go back in. So I'm sure your students are I hope, laughing. We all have our favorite subjects and our not favorite subjects. Yeah. But that was, I can't explain it. I think we were just born with certain aptitudes.
I would say to a degree you're right. I know when I was 18, 19, I wanted a career in radio too. And what I did is I did take my radio and TV broadcasting training in Winnipeg. But I was not willing to go to the smaller markets to earn my badges, so to speak. I wanted to start at the big stations, and I learned pretty quick you can't do that. So unfortunately, I just I didn't pursue that career any further.
Where do you live now?
I'm in Kindersley.
Right. So does that qualify? Well, I know where it is.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Does that qualify as a small market or not?
Yeah, I'd say we're the biggest small town in Saskatchewan, anyway. And we've got a pretty good radio station here, and the people here are really good. So, and I thought about applying again here, but I thought, no, I really like what I'm doing with the Chamber of Commerce, and I think we can help more people doing what we're doing now. So I'm really happy to be part of this program that we're doing. And, getting people's stories like yourself means a lot to me, and I think will mean a lot to our students.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm teasing you. I'm saying you didn't want to go to a small town, but you ended up in a small town. That's all that I say. Right.
And actually,
the last time I was in the area, and I'm not going to hijack this, but I spoke at a banquet in Etonia with Wendell Clark.
Okay,
it was just the two of us.
Yeah.
And my very, very best friend in the world from the crib lives in Kindersley, Chris Winkler. He's the Clippers' all-time leading scorer.
Okay.
So I just want to point out that to the students, I never really wanted to leave Saskatchewan. And growing up as a young kid, what's your hometown?
Winnipeg is my hometown.
Okay, growing up as a young kid, we had it drilled into our head. It was in the 80s. There's no future in Saskatchewan. You need to leave Saskatchewan. If you want to pursue your dreams, you have to leave Saskatchewan, unless you wanted to farm. And honestly, I bought into it. So I went to college in Calgary.
Okay. Yeah.
And as luck would have it, when I came home, I sent out resumes to every radio station in Western Canada, literally from like Thunder Bay to Victoria.
Wow.
And I had two offers, Castlegar, BC, and Prince Albert. Okay, and I took Prince Albert. Nice. And then my career took off from I was the voice of the PA Raiders at the age of 20, voice of the Regina Pats at the age of 22, voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders at the age of 26. And I'd set all those goals. I wanted to be in the WHL, then I wanted to be back in Regina, and I wanted to be in the NHL. And I didn't make the NHL. I made the CFL, which was pretty cool. So goal setting is very, very, very important, as you know.
Were you involved with the Flames at all at one point?
No.
Someone mentioned that to me, and I said, I don't know. I'll ask. So
that's another part of my story. If you want to really get into entrepreneurship, and by the way, how much time do we have? Because I don't want to take up too much.
We've got another 15 minutes yet.
Okay, I was hired as voice of the Saskatchewan of the Calgary Flames in the summer of 2014.
Okay.
And when the Flames, somebody had told them you can't hire him. Rod's an alcoholic. He'll be the worst hiring you ever made.
Right.
They pulled the offer.
Oh,
so
really?
that's part of my story of recovery and perseverance, which I ended up getting sober 6 months later and founded Pedersen Recovery Incorporated, which is I did that all through organic marketing and bootstrapping and all the things that the concepts of business are all the same, whether you're selling grain, selling shoes, selling radio airtime, it's selling, and I was selling recovery, but that's a story for another time. But that was my Flames story.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. And now
we can laugh.
Well, I mean, hey, life happens to all of us, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Some good, some bad. That's the way it goes. So you're not the voice of the Riders anymore. You stepped away from that. Just you had enough, or
it was 20 years.
Yeah.
And I'm a guy, and I spent 17 years in the Western Hockey League, and by the end of my time with the Riders, we were both ready to move on. I call it the first divorce in history that both sides were happy. So things have changed for both sides, and here we are. I certainly don't harbor any ill will. I mean, with some of the greatest experiences in my life are from the Rough Riders. But for the last 18 months, we've been on the air with a digital show, started digital on Facebook Live and YouTube, and has now gone to national television. Nice. And it's just something that I want to hammer home to your students is you don't need to leave Saskatchewan to pursue or accomplish any of your dreams. And I learned it when I was on the radio in Prince Albert. My boss there said he wouldn't settle for anything less than our best. And he goes, don't think because you're in a small town by his standards of Prince Albert that you can get away with mistakes.
Right.
He said there's people in Toronto doing bad radio. And I never forgot that. So just because we're in Saskatchewan, which again, growing up was a have-not province, it's not anymore. I mean, you look stunned when I said growing up in the 80s, people said this isn't the place to be. Because I think now on the national, international stage, in a lot of ways it is.
Yes.
But with our show, we were doing virtual interviews like this with the biggest names in sports before the pandemic ever even hit.
Right.
So we had a head start when the pandemic hit in what we're doing. And I'll say probably the feather in my cap, our cap, was having Mike Babcock on the air. It was the first interview he'd done since being fired by the Toronto Maple Leafs in like 16 months. We were the first interview.
I believe I saw that one because now he's now with the Saskatchewan Huskies, I believe it is. Yeah, it was kind of interesting to watch that one. I'm kind of following you now on Twitter as well. So I did happen to see that interview with Mike. So that was good to see. Did I also read that you're part of owner or of a pizzeria? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
I was. No, I was.
Oh, you were?
It's that's why I honestly could sit and talk about entrepreneurship all night with you. When opportunities come, I used to turn them down if they weren't exactly the opportunity that I wanted. And I'm talking about in every regard, broadcasting, recovery, and the people at Everaz Place, if your students have been down to see Mosaic Stadium and the Brand Center, they came to me and said, would you be willing to build a restaurant on the grounds? And I said, God, they pulled down a map on the wall or like a whiteboard, and they had it all mapped out. Okay. And I said, guys, I know nothing about restaurants. Like, other than eating in them, I know nothing about restaurants. And they said, no, but we know that you know people.
Fair enough.
So could you pull some investors together and lead this? And I did. And actually, we were ready to build that restaurant. And then the president of Everaz Place and the VP of Food and Beverage stepped down and they left and the whole deal fell apart. But my lawyer had put together the whole plan. And he owned Famoso. So he said, if you're interested in owning a restaurant, why don't you come into our ownership group? And so I did. And there, again, no restaurant education, no nothing. I learned staffing, marketing, inventory, everything. And like I say, business is business.
Yes.
Right? So that was an opportunity that, frankly, I didn't make money on. But the money that I lost, I could have got a master's in restaurant management, and you know what I mean. It was an experience, and there is no experience quite like learn to do by doing. The old Scouts motto.
Absolutely, hands-on is always the best, and that's the only way to find out what you like or don't like.
Yeah.
And so you're not involved with it anymore, then?
We sold it, and then I've had a couple of opportunities since, but now is not the time to be getting into the restaurant business. So we sold it. Yeah, we sold it just before the pandemic. So I'd like to call that a God shot that we got out of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's unfortunate. They're really taking a kicking right now. But you know, who isn't to some degree?
Yep.
You know, I guess in a way, I guess, like I say, programs like yours, like podcasting and stuff. I guess that's kind of more interesting to people now because they have time to sit and be on the computer.
They do. And the younger generation seems to like to listen or watch their shows on their time. Mm-hmm. The whole idea of appointment listening, like you got to be tuned in at 6, doesn't work too good for the younger generation. So there's that. And, you know, I go back to The Athletic. I mean, like, it's the #1 sports website in the continent, right? Paid subscription website. So they were interviewing me today and they said, you know, why has your show been a success? And are you able to make a living at it? And I said, I make a great living at it. I've learned, look, Shark Tank, Kevin O'Leary.
Yeah.
4 or 5 years ago, I saw him say a comment on there about he doesn't work for his money. He makes his money work for him. Yeah. And it took me a while to realize what he meant, because I grew up just really working for other people. And the harder I worked, the more money they made.
Yes.
And now with our show, the harder I work, the more money we make.
Right.
And so it's the total opposite. And it's exact total opposite.
Yeah.
So I wish, you know, we're talking about entrepreneurship here today. I was told years ago in my early 20s to incorporate. Okay. My dad came home from a scouting trip in Oklahoma. He was in Oklahoma, and the radio guy or the hockey team down there said, tell your son to incorporate. But it cost $1,200 to incorporate, and I didn't have $12, let alone $1,200. And that was 20 years ago or more. In retrospect, I should have taken a loan to incorporate, right? Because just the benefits that come with it, the tax benefits that come with it. I ended up incorporating in 2013, so it's been 8 years. I should have done it. I should have done it way earlier. But just for, if any of your students are going to get into any communications or media, like you say, with our sponsors, when I left the Riders and my talk show, a lot of them came with us to my new show.
Nice. Okay.
And in the world of business, have we learned, Jeff, that nobody's in this for charity? Right? Like, we're not all in this together. Sounds nice, but it's not. It's not that nice. If these businesses weren't getting a return, if they weren't getting people coming into their restaurants, their car wash, their plumbing and heating place, they wouldn't keep sponsoring me.
Right.
So whether you're on TV, radio, newspaper, a podcast, a live digital show, it's all great to have advertisers, but they needed a return on their advertising, and our advertisers have been getting that. So I had somebody tell me here in broadcasting recently, he said, in this pandemic, in any business, if you're able to stay afloat, you've won.
Absolutely.
If you've grown, you're knocking it out of the stadium.
Absolutely.
And we've been able to do that. So I'm incredibly grateful. I'm not sitting here bragging, but I'll tell you, when I left the Rough Riders, which was one of the most high-profile media jobs in the country, people were snickering and just going, "Oh yeah, good luck with your little digital Facebook show." But I bet on myself, and after being in the media business for as long as I was, I didn't have to prove anything to anybody. I didn't need to be the voice of a team to have any validation. Or with a radio station, I know that I can get viewers on my opinions and it has worked. And I have to thank the buy-in of the sports community, because we've had the biggest of the biggest names: Don Cherry, Ron McLean, Babcock, as we said, Cody Fajardo, personal it's a shorter list of who hasn't been on my show than who has.
So you've obviously got a great team behind you too, really.
We have a big team. And if anybody has the bug of entrepreneurship, I would tell you to read the book Success or Inc. or Entrepreneur, because it'll say in there, you need a team. I don't think anybody can do it alone.
I agree with you. Yes.
In anything. And somebody said to me, like with Tony Robbins, I said, I wanted to be the Tony Robbins of sobriety. They said, okay, Tony's a good example. These are my business mentors that have told me this. They're like, you see Tony Robbins on the screen. And for the kids that don't know, he's the world's most famous motivational speaker and coach, business coach.
Yes.
They said he's got a team running the camera, setting up the stage, selling tickets to be in that theater. But he doesn't do it alone. Oh, no. So you need somebody around you that covers off the blind spots. And in my case, we have a whole tech team. We have a business team. We have a sales team. We just hired a content producer that starts on Monday. Yeah. Because for the most part, I've been doing a lot of the social media myself. Like, it's fun.
Yeah.
But my wife is working from home, and I'll spend a couple hours on the couch on my phone in the afternoon. And she's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Social media."
Exactly.
It's work. It's work.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's fun. It's fun work, but it's tedious.
Yes. I have to do the same thing too with our Chamber of Commerce. I mean, we're more visible now, I think, through Facebook and plus, going around and meeting businesses, meeting people in their businesses. So social media really, and as a newbie, so to speak, to social media, I've found that it's very, very powerful and very widespread. So I'm just getting my feet wet and learning. Boy, it's a tough learning curve for me.
It can be. But I mean, I've had, going back to 2016, I've been doing some seminars on social media.
Okay.
And I'll give you a little example. When the SJHL showed up at my seminar in 2017, they didn't have a Facebook page. They darn sure didn't have an Instagram account. And so I got them set up on all those things. Well, less than a year later was the Humboldt Broncos crash. And they came back to me after and they said, could you imagine if we hadn't had those communication channels available at the time just to get our message out as a league? So I will say this to the kids, and probably they're better at social media than you and me combined.
Yeah.
But you said the learning curve. Everybody's afraid of social media. And I mean, deathly afraid. Maybe
put on it.
Well, maybe older people are afraid.
No.
And I'm not even talking about the bullying, harassment and stuff. But I get the fact people are so afraid you say the wrong thing, you're going to get canceled, and you lose your business or you lose your job.
Right.
I say it's like fire. You need to learn how to use it.
Yes.
Fire, when used properly, will heat your home, cook your food. Where would we be without fire? But if you don't use it right, you'll get burnt and you could burn your house down.
Absolutely, yes.
So I think it's important that everybody learn how to use social media properly, because honestly, the majority of people are literally, I talk to so many business owners, I don't want anything to do with it. They don't understand it.
Yes, that's what we're finding too.
Yeah, but that's not a reason to ignore it.
No, I
You know,
agree. But for some, I think some people figure that I'm at an age where it's not important. It's okay. I'll wait. Well, no, you can't. You just can't, because while your customers checking you out, they're also checking out your competition. And if you're not available, guess what? Guess where they're going?
time is money.
Absolutely.
And so you're waiting for what? You're just losing ground. And now a ton of my information sales leads are coming through social media, being DM'd, and we still don't have a big marketing budget. So we've done most of our growth through social media marketing, and it's actually organic. And I don't know if you expected to go down this road, but I'll just say this. Companies like Hootsuite,
Yes.
even Facebook and Google, they schedule your posts for you.
Okay,
and I'm like, for timing. And I'm like, well, that's lazy. And what happens if your customers reply to you, are in your mentions or DM you, but you're off goofing off somewhere because you had a post scheduled to go out at 8 o'clock. You need to respond to your customers. I don't care what your business is.
Yeah, social media is where it's at right now. So you have to accept it. It's not going to go away anytime soon. I hate to say it, but you know what, Rod? Our time is up. Darn it.
Well, if you ever want to have me back, I was just getting warmed up. So you
know what? And that's a possibility. We could probably do that. But for tonight, I'm going to say thank you, because everything you've talked about is perfect, and it's spot on for what we want to let the students in the schools know. And say perseverance, having a mentor, it's all important for everybody.
Very much. Well, you have my contact info. Reach out at any time. I love the Kindersley area and the people up there, so it's great to talk to the young people up there.
I probably will schedule another one, but I'll let you know when we're all ready for that.
Sounds good, bud.
Thank you, Rod. Have a great night, man. Catch you again.